Hi, David Grimes, Yardwork, etc. Got an interesting property here. A couple things I'd like to talk about. Here's a camellia, generally known as a shade plant. However, this one is in a little more sunny spot, and that's why we see a little more yellowing on the leaves, because it doesn't like so much sun. But in the northwest, we get a lot of shade, so it survives. Around the yard we have a lot of rhododendrons. Here's a rhododendron right here. We're doing a cleanup on the yard. We haven't actually been taking care of these rhododendrons, but it looks like this one's been chopped here, and it's come back from the base, and then a lot of dead was taken out, and it's kind of filling up the top. Again, you've got these rhododendron leaves. They got a little yellow on them. That looks like it might be a magnesium deficiency, maybe needs some iron, but the veins aren't sure. The green isn't showing veins necessarily, so probably just getting old, getting a little too much sun up there. These are some yuccas, pretty old by the state of the stems. With most of my yuccas, because this is a more protected area right here, and it's close to the sound, so the cold doesn't get too cold, and the rhododendrons are protecting it. You can take the sides off of it, of the trunks. But generally, especially in a colder climate, you want to keep the dead pieces on the trunk because it provides insulation through the winter. Here's a couple azaleas. Their scientific name is also rhododendron, just like these big guys, but they're in the classification of azaleas. Here we've got a mint family type and some other ground covers. The grasses have snuck into this ground cover, but if we can contain it, it's not worth us pulling all the grasses out of this, because time-wise, and time is money, and it just takes a long time. You pull half the grasses out, they come right back. So right now we're just trying to contain that in the area, and it doesn't look half bad that way. This is probably a lissome right here, candy tuft, a great plant. Beautiful white ground cover, white flowering ground cover. I love putting this in spots in different locations, different people's properties. Here's another azalea. This is a pretty cold April this year, but it's about mid-April, and this azalea's just decided to start blooming. So it should, by next week, we should have some vociferous flowers. This is one form of viburnum right here. I call it viburnum Davidi. Fairly common, so you don't always plant it because of its common uses in commercial properties, but it gets red flowers and white, and it gets blue berries. So you've got kind of a green with some red, white, and blue going on. And it stays fairly low, which is hard to get on a lot of places. Over here, we're doing a thatch job right now. That's why I'm carrying this rake around. You can notice the lawn here was completely saturated with moss, which is a normal thing in the Northwest, but for some reason homeowners don't like lots of moss in their grasses. So this is one way we get rid of the moss. Also, the dead grass creates a thatch layer, and when that thatch layer gets too heavy, it's not very good for the overall condition of the lawn. It looks pretty ripped up, especially like right this area. Boy, it looks pretty bad. But within a week, you'll see the roots of that grass will start growing through. So it'll look fine in a week, and if we overseed it as well with some grass seed, it'll look even better. It'll green up really well. I'll bounce a little bit here. This is another rhododendron over here. Rhododendrons, they really like shade. You know, it's not always horribly dark in the Northwest out here, but I'm surprised that this rhododendron is so happy, because it really is in quite a lot more sunlight than it generally would like. Look at the size of some of these flowers. The flowers that the rhododendron gets are just beautiful, and you get them, if you can get several rhododendrons in that are flowering at different points of the year, you've really got quite a show on your hands. We've got some bamboo over here. Bamboo can be a very dangerous thing to plant. If you look down over here, this is a different type of bamboo here, but right here, this was a piece of the stuff from this side, so it's starting to crawl down this way. So you can either trench around it, or you can make sure that it's not a rhizomous bamboo. In other words, it's not sending roots way out. It's more of a clumping, and it'll kind of stay in its own area. But you really need to plant it someplace where it's not going to get on your neighbor's property and things like that. Here's a final rhododendron here. This is a ponticum style rhododendron. I can tell that because of its rounded leaves. These leaves are a little more rounded, and so that's why they call it. That's why I'm thinking it's a ponticum style rhododendron. Yes, this is a native ground cover over here. It's boy, I can't remember, wood sorrel, I believe. You know, we just weeded this whole bed area. It was completely covered with weeds. But you know where we didn't weed very much? It was where this ground cover was. Or it was where the bamboo already had leaves under it, and there's some Lithidora over there that gets beautiful little blue flowers. The weeds aren't too prolific in there. You know, a big answer to your problem of spending lots of time weeding is planting plants in that area so you don't have to compete with that. Oh, underneath here, shade plants, Fatzias. I don't believe they're native to the Northwest, but they love shade, and homeowners love having them, and they're really good right in that area. Very, very nice little plants right there. So I guess I'll see you later. If you'd like to contact Yardwork Etc., you can do so by going to the website, yardworketc.net. You can go to, my email is yardworketc.net@gmail.com. Phone number, cell phone, 425-308-4416. See you later.